Welcome to Pro Wrestling with Juice. So earlier today, AEW sold out, all out, at the same venue as All In from last year. So over 10,000 people, and that's impressive. Remember, Ring of Honor, they're lucky to get 6,000 people, into a venue, 7,000 people. That's why some of their shows are not even close to that. Much less than that, actually. But, so anyways, I just wanted to say that's really impressive. And, I've been looking into some things lately, because what are people's expectations for viewership when it goes to TNT, for example, I've seen wild numbers thrown out there. WWE right now is struggling to stay above 2 million. Some hours of Raw, for example, dip below, I believe, or are really close to that 2 million line. And so I've seen people say they expect numbers over 1 million. They throw out, well, TNT's in 90 million homes just in America or something like that. I don't know if that's true, but I've heard people mention that a few times. I've heard people say that they're expected to hit 500,000 by the network. Again, I don't know how reliable these numbers are or these sources. So I started looking around, and just looking at Twitter. Well, that's the only thing I really did. I looked at the followers. The Young Bucks, for example, are just barely over 300,000 followers on Twitter. 300,000. The biggest Twitter news channel I could find for wrestling was around 90,000 followers. It's just a YouTube channel that talks about wrestling, right? John Moxley has over 700,000 followers on Twitter. Now, he doesn't tweet much. In fact, pre-AEW, he had never tweeted. He just had an account because WWE wanted him to. But anyways, over 700,000. Cody Rhodes, over 800,000 followers on Twitter. 800. That's not 1 million. That's 800,000. Chris Jericho, over 3 million followers on Twitter. Chris Jericho's a rock star, though. How many of those followers are wrestling fans? How many of them are rock, Fozzy fans? How many of them don't like wrestling? So anyway, so what is AEW's reach? How many people truly know of AEW? So outside of people I personally know, I have only ran into 3 or 4 people in the last year that knew what AEW was. I've ran into, and I'm out like multiple times a week. Like, I go to the grocery store 2-3 times a week. I do our grocery shopping. I go to hobby shops. I go to conventions. I wouldn't say I'm like super active, but I got small kids, so I'm always out at the parks. I wear wrestling shirts, I would say over half the time when I go out. Just since AEW was announced and the shirts started coming out, I've worn, AEW, Villain Club, all sorts of stuff. And I'm also talking about Bullet Club, because I feel like you would know what the Bullet Club is if you know what AEW is. And I've only had like less than a handful of comments in a year. So, anyways, I just wonder how big the reach is. How much exposure is there? People... I heard the guys on the Matt Min podcast talk about how AEW is not known by, like, anybody, right? And that's probably true, but I do think they're underestimating also how many wrestling fans are out there. I saw it in my other hobby. I'm interested in tabletop RPGs. I started my one YouTube channel back in 2012 for that. And at the time, everyone was like, oh, you're lucky if you'll ever get 2,000-3,000 subs. Well, there was one guy who was crushing it, like had like 10,000 at the time. And people were like, what? That's not possible. He's buying his subs. He's pushing 200,000 subs now for Dungeons and Dragons content. 200,000 for just a guy on YouTube. Now, I guarantee you there are more wrestling fans than Dungeons and Dragons fans. I would almost bet on it. If not, I bet you it's pretty close. It seems like YouTube channels and stuff for wrestling get more steam than Dungeons and Dragons. Maybe we're just more diehard. I don't know. But anyways, selling out in 15 minutes is impressive. No matter what your take on it is. I know a lot of them are being scalped right now for over $1,000. But I don't think that that's really any indication. Because look at WWE. They haven't sold out their show next week. What is it called? Proving Ground or something like that. Anyways, I don't know. Not real worried about their Roman Reigns, Drew McIntyre main event. So, anyways, that's it. That's all I want to talk about. Congratulations, AEW, for selling out. Looking forward to seeing how things unfold. So, that's it, guys. Have a good one. Bye-bye.